Welcome again. So my name is Lisa Russell, and I'm going to segue a little bit into AI in the creative economy and actually how we can monetize all this incredible content that we are using. But before I do that, I just want to ask a question, like how many of you consider yourselves practitioners of the creative economy? You're a musician, you're a filmmaker, you're a designer, somewhere in the creative economy. Okay. And you're aware that the creative economy is exploding, especially on the continent, right? Are you aware of that? Okay. And how many of you are making more money from this explosion? Artists who are making more money. You are making more money. Okay, well, that's good. Anybody else making more money from the creative economy? Great. All right. Well, those of you who are watching the creative economy boom, but you are still struggling financially, it is not your fault. It is systems. The systems in play have made it so it's difficult for artists to make a living. So, for example, Spotify is a really harmful platform for musicians. The CEO makes $345 million a year, while musicians are struggling to make money on the platform, right? Same thing with YouTube. I'm a filmmaker, and I started off my film career, believe it or not, like distributing my film on VHS. That's how long ago I started making films. But when films went from DVDs to YouTube, I had nothing to sell, right? I would get commissioned to make a film, but that was it. So I want to talk a little bit about systems, because the creative economy, especially on the African continent, is exploding, but the people who are still not benefiting from that explosion are the artists. And so as this new technology is taking root, I want to challenge you to think about doing things differently. We hear a lot about AI taking jobs and transitioning jobs. It also is an opportunity for us to use AI to create the jobs that will benefit us in a better way. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to showcase some of my work. But essentially, I do want to talk about AI in the creative economy. Now, a little bit about me. I've been doing a million things for the last 20 years. I'm an Emmy award-winning filmmaker. I'm a new AI filmmaker. I've done a lot of films so far. I'm the Women in AI ambassador. I'm based in Mombasa, and I've mostly worked in the UN space, which for me was great because I started off my film career wanting to use my art to make change. I didn't do it to be at Sundance or to do it to be whatever. And in fact, when I started, people were like, you can't be a filmmaker at the UN. The UN isn't a creative place. You can't do this, you can't do that. And then I won an Emmy, and then nobody could say nothing. Thank you. So I have always felt that bringing two worlds together, the UN, which is not known as being a creative place, and creativity, bringing those two things together is where innovation happened and where my career has actually really grown, right? So as, again, I'm talking to you, it's really exciting to make all these new AI films and this new AI content, but I want you to think differently because AI is creating a different world. So just to quickly just showcase one of my films, this just premiered at AI for Good, the AI for Good Film Festival in Geneva. This is my film.
Initializing transmission, linking to remaining satellites, power level stable, audio, armed, visual, muted, estimated reach, unknown. Signal integrity is holding. You're live in 3, 2, 1.
I don't know if anyone can hear this, but I have to say it anyway. To those orbiting your new homes, resettled in space, you left Earth. She is now depleted, drained. No life in the oceans, no breath in the mountains, no pulse in the soil. I stayed, not because I lost the fight, but because I loved what we could have become. 10 years ago, we stood at the edge of something new. A moment where AI and technology could have healed, preserved, cooled the burning sky. But you trained machines for profit, wired systems for war, chose speed over wisdom, control over care. I'm not here to blame you. Earth will survive. She always has. But what we lost was the story we could have written together. Of balance, of beauty, of intelligence with empathy. If this is the last message carried through Static and Starlight, let it be this. You can build 1,000 new worlds, but none will feel like home. We didn't need more code. We needed more conscience, more courage, more care. So if you're still watching, remember this planet not as a failure, but as your first teacher. She gave you breath. She gave you time. This is the last broadcast from Earth. Not a warning, not a plea, a memory. Carry her forward, and this time, do better.
Thank you. So I also just wanted to piggyback on what Shady was saying earlier about the hero's journey. I absolutely agree in this moment where things are moving so fast, we need fast content. But I'm a purist in a way of craft. And so I feel that those of you that are still interested in telling, like emotional storytelling, sometimes you can't get that with super quick, fast cuts and all these certain things. There's a room, I think, for both types of filmmakers. You can build your audience who will put up the time to watch your stuff if they know they're a fan of yours. If they know the kind of work that you put out and they enjoy it, the hero's journey isn't dead. It just may need a different strategy. Would you agree? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about creative AI. And creative AI encompasses AI filmmaking, there's AI music, there's AI poetry, there's AI design, there's all sorts of different creative rooms for creative and cultural industries. Now, what I feel is that this is an area where artists can actually be really important in AI development, because if you start learning about building AI, it's very techy. You don't need to know how to code necessarily, but it's still, you need to understand sort of the technology. And artists are incredibly powerful at being able to translate difficult topics into art that makes it easier for people to learn. So for example, some possible jobs you can get isn't just being a filmmaker and going to a film festival. You can create educational modules using storytelling. You can create songs that will help children understand AI and robots in a different way. You can use design to amplify some reports or certain things that aren't that dynamic. Creative AI is going to be an important part of this new AI movement, and I don't want you to sleep on it. The other thing is that, so I am obviously not Kenyan, but I have been living here for 6-7 years, and I got stuck here during COVID. I'm an independent filmmaker, lost all my funding, lost my house in New York. I got really messed up by COVID. And I am now looking at, wow, so things are moving so fast. If we do not stay on top of it, there is going to be a large amount of unemployment, especially for young people, because Africa has the largest youth population in the world. There's all this AI stuff that, yes, you should be concerned about jobs, but not if you embrace AI. And it's both a challenge, but also an opportunity. So we talked about the attention economy. I don't need to go into that anymore. But arts and storytelling are increasingly becoming more valuable. And again, even at the UN, it's more and more clear that they need to do a better job at learning how to do storytelling. So storytelling is an incredibly important, not tool, but skill that you all should learn no matter what you're in. Healthcare, education, design, storytelling, and really understanding storytelling, like understanding screenwriting, forget who the scriptwriter is a real, shout out, is a really great way to learn storytelling, is really learning script writing, right? And then again, we talked about the creative economy. These are just some statistics. I'm not going to rattle them off, but the creative economy is exploding. I had the opportunity to be the keynote speaker for the first World Conference on Creative Economy. It was all economists, policymakers, ministers, the president of Indonesia. There were not artists in the room. If you are a creative practitioner and you like to do your art, great. But follow what's going on with the creative economy, because you are part of it, and your input into whether it's policies, the economics of it, et cetera, is really, really important. And I'm part of an arts and culture working group where we push for an artist-led movement, and I'm happy to say it's finally taking root. Like, we wrote this artist manifesto that's like, art and culture should be driven by artists because we are the gatekeepers of culture. So why are we not at the table making decisions about the creative economy? So I think you're going to see a lot of changes in that, but I encourage you, if you're a practitioner, don't just be a recipient of creative economy practices and policies. Be advocates for it or engaged in it. So this is also where I want to get to. So how many of you are teaching artists? How many of you teach your craft? Screenwriter? Yep. Okay. Over here. What do you do? Sorry? Choreography. Somebody over here? No. Okay. Yes. Yeah, we know what you guys do. All right, so teaching artists, I think a lot of artists become teaching artists because we have to wear multiple hats to like survive, right? And we also enjoy teaching our craft. It also makes you better at your craft. But I would argue that teaching artists are sort of the untapped secret to creating responsible AI. We are close to the communities. We know our craft. We know storytelling. We know how to, relay information to folks. Like, I'll give you a really great research study that I love. There's a professor at Princeton who did this research study where he put a brainwave hat on a storyteller, and he realized that the brainwaves of a storyteller sync up with the people who are listening to the story. So whether you're a speaker, a poet, a musician, etc., if you can capture an audience, if you can be on stage and capture an audience, you literally have everybody on the same wavelength. This is wild to me. So that's another proof that storytelling isn't just like a one-way interaction, it's an experience that we are all having. And this is why we have like cult leaders and why we have really dynamic, other leaders that do good in the world. But I take storytelling really responsibly, and I feel that when we honor that responsibility, we get better at our craft, we get more responsible with our craft, and we realize the impact that we actually can have on people. There's another study that shows that in a theater setting, when you're watching a theater show, there are moments of the theater that are maybe more slow and melancholy. People's heart rates sync up and slow down. And then when there's more dramatic things happening, people's heart rates sync up and get faster. So again, without any physical touch, storytellers, speakers, poets, musicians, etc., have the ability to get everybody in the room on the same wavelength. This is mind-blowing to me. I don't know, anybody else feel like this is crazy? So, and maybe we felt it. Maybe you've been at a concert and you can feel that energy, like everybody's together. You don't know people next to you, but you're like in it. That is this thing. So I think even we don't know truly the power of storytelling, right? But I'm convinced that those of us that know it and teach it can actually help drive a more ethical AI movement. And you'll hear all the negatives about AI, but I'm also somebody who believes AI is a tool. I'm more creative. You're telling me my fingertips, my brain, and I can make a film 500 years from now in outer space, underwater, anything I can think of, I can make a film about. Anything. I'm somebody who's not really into like the Google VO3 and the like fast talking chipmunks and stuff like that. Like that's not my style. But to know that you can make literally anything that you can think of is so incredibly powerful. So I just want to tap into those of you who teach their craft, that you also, learning AI may open up a lot more opportunities to get funding or to get paid positions by knowing how to teach what you do in AI. So I'm not going to go into this, but there's a lot of people wanting to learn AI. They don't know the basics of AI. They don't know how ChatGPT works. Maybe they only know ChatGPT, and there's way more to AI than ChatGPT. There's room for people to learn this, digest it, and then teach it. And right now, if you've gone on some of these like training platforms of like, I don't know, AI literacy, it's like super boring speakers, PowerPoint presentations. It's just not that interesting. So you can take your skills and create more interesting ways of teaching. And so what happened with me with my personal story is that I didn't seek out to go make an AI film. I actually saw a press release from UN Women that was talking about gender bias in AI. And I was like, you know what? I want to make a film about this. So before Midjourney, before Runway, before any of these other tools, I found these like talking avatars, and I made B-roll, and I did the whole thing, and I created this film about like we, the women of AI, descend upon the UN to rewrite the charter, some, UN-y. That's my like geeky part. But it generated in the documentary film community a big conversation. Some people were super excited about it, and some people were really angry about it. What is this technology? This is going to ruin our careers. This is going to do whatever. But what I realized again is that how incredible if we can get these tools into the hands of people around the world to tell their own stories. We get rid of the gatekeepers. You don't need Hollywood. You don't need producers. You don't need Spotify. You don't need any of these like systems that keep artists down. You can create your own path for monetization. So that's when I said, okay, let me make some films because it's fun. So I made probably mostly climate-related films, probably about 7 or 8 films. But then I was like, no, I don't want to just be a user of these platforms. I want to build the platform. So I spent probably around 8 months to 9 months learning how to build my own platform and train it in the way that I would teach storytelling. So it's like my digital twin. As a teaching artist. And I made it so that people who don't know how to prompt, forget who mentioned it, that aren't good at prompting, learn how to prompt, because that's really the foundation for creating great work, is understanding how to prompt and doing it in a way that's fun. So there's art, there's storytelling, you can make film posters, you can make music album covers, you can do fun stuff to get you in it. And then once you're ready, if you want to then pay $250 a month for Google VO3, do it. I ain't doing it. I'm not doing it because, let me back up. So as a filmmaker, when I first started my career, everybody talked about, well, what camera are you using? What editing platform? Are you on Final Cut? Are you on Avid? Are you on this? Are you on that? Like everybody's talking about, like we're mentioning the shiny new things, right? But they didn't know storytelling. They don't know how to tell a story. So there are people who can tell a better story with a cell phone than people who've spent $50,000 on a camera equipment. So you have to learn the foundation, and I believe the same thing exists for AI. If you want to be a really great AI artist, you have to start with the foundation. Don't jump to VO3 and be like, oh, let me make this video and look how cool it is. It's a clip. It's gimmicky to me. It's a clip. If you want to really be a great AI poet, a great AI musician, a great AI filmmaker, you have to understand the foundation. So I'm going to show you just a quick, this is like a little promo thing from my Africa AI Creators Academy.
There's an old African proverb that says, when a griot dies, a library burns to the ground. But what if we could build new libraries? Living, breathing, digital ones, powered by African voices, African stories, African visions. Welcome to the Africa AI Creators Academy, where tradition meets technology, and storytellers become architects of the future. Whether you're in Nairobi or Lagos, Accra or Addis, Goma or Gaborone. If you're a filmmaker, content creator, media student, spoken word artist, or just curious about the future, this is for you. In this course, you'll learn how to use AI not just as a tool, but as your creative partner. With the power of the ArtsEnvoy.ai platform, you'll be able to generate scripts and storyboards, create AI-assisted short films, design visual art straight from your imagination, write your own ebooks and poetry chapbooks, and learn how to distribute and monetize your creative content. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need a Hollywood budget. You need creativity, curiosity, and commitment. And if you've got that, we've got you. The griots of today aren't just holding microphones. They are holding cameras, laptops, smartphones, and now AI tools. This is your time to build new stories and new opportunities for yourself and for the future of African storytelling. Join us. The Africa AI Creators Academy is now open, and your story is just getting started. Let's create the future together.
So that academy is being built by partners in different African countries, because I'm not African, I'm not going to speak on behalf of Africa, but we're working with people in Zambia, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, so it's growing. And the reason why I talked about the teaching artist position is because ultimately, I want to provide this platform for you guys to learn how to teach the classes and get paid using it. So you can have access to free tools, you can also get paid as a teaching artist, all that great stuff, still in the works. What students can create, we create vision boards, we create AI poetry, AI monologues, AI imagery, AI short films. If you're into advertising, if you're into public service announcements, we create all of that. And again, teach you not just the fancy tools, but craft first, in my opinion. Here's one of the modules, just to show you, with our AI teaching artists.
Karibu. Welcome to the Kenya edition of the Africa AI Creators Academy. I'm Naya Radiance, a Maasai artist, sculptor, storyteller, and daughter of East African soil and imagination. I create from what others discard. I turn recycled materials into beauty. That's why I believe in this academy. Because we are here to take what we've been given and remake it into something extraordinary. In the next 4 weeks, we are going to prove something radical. Creative AI doesn't replace artists, it amplifies us. You don't need to write a single line of code to become an AI creator. What you do need is voice, vision, and the courage to remix tradition with tomorrow. Africa's creative economy is unstoppable. But in the world of artificial intelligence, our stories are still shadows. This academy was created to change that. To center your voice, your culture, and your creativity in the future being built right now. Here's what's happening next. In the coming days, you'll receive access to the ArtsEnvoy.ai platform, pre-recorded video lessons from our African AI teaching artists, details for joining our live training sessions. But today, you begin week 0, our official kickoff. This week is all about exploration. Inside, you'll find short video tutorials and hands-on assignments designed to spark your creativity and prepare you for what's ahead. Are you ready to explore, invent, and amplify your voice with AI? Let's begin.
Okay, so that is, there's a series of AI teaching artists who I have built and trained, and I'm going to do a lot of different things with them. But again, you know, they're teaching modules, and then we have live lessons, so we always need people to be teaching that. So again, back to monetization. I want to give you an example, because this now is like 8 months old to me. I've done this, I've been working on this. This is ready to go. We piloted it in Kenya. Great, I want to teach people. I want to use it as a tool. Fantastic. Let me tell you kind of what's next in the pipeline for AI monetization. It's all about automation. Have you guys heard that word before, automation? So automation in the creative economy is building systems that accelerate what you need to do. So I'll give you an example. I wrote this poetry book You will not erase me. It's based on my 20-year career in the UN space, my childhood, all this other stuff. I've been working on this for 10 years. I used AI to help me structure it. It didn't write it. I didn't push a button and say, okay, write my life story, but it helped me structure it. And AI is really good with that if you know how to prompt it. Then I had to take the cover, I had to design the cover, I had to make sure that the pages were done right so that the poems start on the right side. I had to create the table of content. I had to make sure the spine matched. Then I had to do the back, and I had to make sure there was enough room for the what's called an ISBN code. This is really complicated, and I'm good at this stuff. It's really challenging. Now imagine if you wrote a bunch of poems, and there's an AI agent that you say, okay, make me a poetry book. And it takes all the poems you just wrote, it orders it in the way that it should fall, it creates the table of contents, it puts it together with a cover and a spine and a back and the ISBN, and it sends it to a printing company like Amazon, right? We don't stop there. So now your book is done on Amazon where you can make money. I did this as a test. I've made about $400, and I'm not pushing it that hard, but I'm doing it to test myself how these new systems can work. But then it gets better. How many of you guys here use Facebook ads for your work? Okay, some of you do. Would you swear by it? Because I think people underestimate how important ads can be to helping you build your business. I was never a big fan. I'm like, ads, numbers, and now it's like ads are like everything, I feel like, to get your work out there, to get your name out there, to get whatever your product is. But now I have a product. So now when I do my film screenings, like I'm going to Germany, not far from now, I'm going to the UN, I'm gonna have books where I can now, instead of a DVD, I have something I can sell. You can create clothing lines, you can create bags, you can create caps, you can create so much stuff and use your art to sort of complement that product, like affiliate marketing, if you're familiar with affiliate marketing. Now, imagine, now I have this book on Amazon, how am I gonna sell it, right? You have another AI agent that scans the book, creates 3 different advertisements, 3 different images, puts all 3 into meta ads, analyzes the response to the ads, tells you which ads are doing the best, automatically puts the rest of your budget into that ad, and then you don't do anything else. This is so much money if you're doing it independently and you have to hire people, and it's complicated. But automation, if you learn to build instead of use, you can control the money. Because right now, sorry, I'm gonna get a little Pan-African, but when you start using Runway and Midjourney and Google and all of these US-based corporations, you are building them and they're taking your money and it's being built elsewhere. It's not being built on the African continent. It really made me mad when I heard the US Embassy wanted to bring the Grammys to Nairobi, because I was like, why don't you just create your own Grammys? Why are you bringing in Netflix and Google and all of this stuff? Because all you're doing is creating another system where you're dependent on the, whatever you want to call it, the global north, the west, whatever it is, right? So if as independent artists, you start doing this automation, you control possibly the most valuable part of all of this stuff, and that is the data. There's a saying, data is the new oil, right? So if you control the data, if you own the data, you could potentially be doing so much more and building your business. Another thing I realized when I went to this AI conference is they were talking about how much money people actually make from data, right? Buying our data. That's, everybody wants the data, data. Facebook has Africa data. It's been, you guys have been using it with Google. We learned this at the AI conference. You use Google Photos. They've been scanning your photos, Facebook, all of these. They've been training the AI on your stuff. So Africa is already in the LLMs. You just need to know how to prompt it to get it to rise above everything else, right? But I just lost my train of thought because I'm tired. What they're not telling you is that, oh no, what I was gonna say is that I had a big issue with TikTok being banned in America because I love TikTok, big TikTok fan. And my numbers went up a lot after, now I'm not getting political, but after the war in Gaza, because I spoke up for Gaza, and my numbers went up. But what I realized is that it was never about China and communism, and that's why they wanted to get rid of TikTok. It was because of the data. China has limited their ability for their citizens to access Facebook and TikTok, so they don't have Chinese data. China has Chinese data. And so how mad is America gonna be if they can't access Chinese data, but China can access American data? So I'm learning so much in this AI space, and it's mind-blowing to me. And that's why my only thing today is I can teach you AI filmmaking. To me, that is here. We need to start thinking about systems change, especially for the African continent, because you guys have the ability to really rise up in the next decade, 2 decades, because of sustainability, because of the creative economy, all these things. You could flip the power dynamics of the world, but I think it really starts with the citizens, like not being fed the Kool-Aid of like, oh, we need all these tools because we're gonna build whatever. I built this platform, I have access to the data here, and I give it to my African partners, right? I'm collecting data through my stuff because you don't want to keep sending it to Google or whatever. They have enough data, right? So when you start thinking about creative AI, go outside of just making cool stuff. You can make cool stuff, but think strategically, think business-wise, and think, what's the word? Like just big picture, right? So let me just do a couple of other things. I do work in the UN space, so I talk a lot about the Sustainable Development Goals, if you're unfamiliar with them, but this platform is dealing with several of them, from gender equality, quality education, partnerships for the goals, et cetera. And then, let me not do that. That's gonna be loud, sorry. So the last thing I wanted to do is, I do a lot of climate storytelling because I think climate storytelling sucks in the UN space. It's horrible. So I work on that, and I care about the planet. So I have built a whole climate storytelling thing. And this is an area where, again, if you are looking for opportunities and you are a good creative, learn how to tell climate stories. The storytelling is so bad, like it's so bad that we need better storytellers, and we need more storytellers on climate. So I'm gonna quickly, it's gonna be very loud. Is somebody controlling the audio? Because I feel like it's gonna get really loud. Yeah, we got it? Okay. This is short, it's only 1 minute. Yeah. So I think that is coming to the end. Okay, so one last thing I just want to show. So we are building a roadmap for content creation to go from training to demo days so that you can showcase your work, to film festivals. So we're launching film festivals, to an agency where we're going to help get creators work. But this is my roadmap. There's no reason why you guys can't have this roadmap. If you're good at digital marketing, if you're good at organization, if you're good at agency work, having an AI agency is going to be a great opportunity. And especially if you get specialized, because we heard there's going to be so much like noise, right? Really, the people who are going to rise up are the ones who know how to curate this in a way where it's like, who do I go to for climate storytelling? Oh, Lisa Russell. You know, like I get to go to the UN and present at the highest level AI event happening at the UN. And that is because I'm consistent in the types of stuff that I'm doing. So if you need to make money as a creative and you feel the creative economy is not serving you, curate your own stuff. There's a statistic that says artists who curate their own events are 3 times more likely to get more exposure, more paid opportunities, etc. So curation equals power. If you are a filmmaker, don't just make films, run a film festival. You can always show your film at the film festival, right? Think about systems change. Think about more than content creation. And I'm sorry I got very serious about it, but that's my TED Talk. I am doing another training very soon, and I'm happy to talk to anybody who might be interested. But in any AI training you get, think beyond being a user. Think about being a builder. Think about being on top of, at the forefront. Already you guys being here means that you are, still in the early phases of being at the forefront. Think beyond content creation. Think beyond being a content creator for something and instead be an owner of it. Be a builder, be an owner. And that's going to start changing this system that has made it difficult for artists, right? I'm happy to talk to anybody else who's interested. And again, I know we were having fun earlier and I got real serious, but I'm like so passionate about this. So I hope you guys understood what I was trying to do. But I'm really like passionate. I have been for decades about really elevating the creative economy. So happy to talk to anybody who's interested. But thank you. And I will turn the floor back to your fun hosts and I'll get off the stage so they can teach you some more cool stuff. Thank you. Thanks.